ever have a memory that won't leave you alone? One that feels too real, even when everyone tells you it couldn't have happened. This isn't a ghost story. It's not a dream or some internet rumor. It happened to me. I was just a delivery driver, tired, broke, trying to make rent. I thought I'd seen every kind of weird people out there. But that night, I delivered something I should have never touched. I've told myself 1,000 times not to talk about it, but it's been eating at me ever since. So if you're listening, don't think of this as entertainment. Think of it as a warning. Because if what I saw that night was real, it means there's something out there wearing faces that don't belong to them. And one of them looked exactly like my little sister. I used to think the worst thing about delivering food at night was the boredom, the silence, the smell of wet cardboard boxes, the way your brain goes numb after the fifth order. But that night, I learned there are things much worse than boredom. Things that stay with you long after the rain stops. It had been pouring for hours. The kind of rain that eats the road, that blurs everything into grey and white streaks. My wipers could barely keep up. I remember the sound, a dull mechanical heartbeat against the windshield as I drove through another nameless suburb. I was running late on a delivery, a single large pizza double pepperoni from one of those new vending machine setups. The kind where you order online, the machine does. Everything, cooks it, boxes it, seals it, and someone like me just picks it up. It was easy money, I told myself. No people, no mess. The pizza smelled odd though, too perfect. Not like dough and oil, more like plastic, trying to imitate food. But I didn't care. It wasn't my dinner. I balanced the box on my thigh as I drove. Then I hit a speed bump I hadn't seen through the rain. The box slid, smearing something across my jeans. When I looked down, I saw red, not a little, but enough to make my stomach tighten. For a second, I thought it was blood. It looked too dark to be sauce, too thick. I pulled over under a streetlight, opened the box. The pizza was flawless, round, steaming, untouched. Not a single streak missing. But the bottom of the box was slick. I wiped it with my fingers. It didn't smell like tomato. It smelled faintly metallic, like when you cut your hand and taste the iron. Still, I shrugged it off. I told myself the machine must have malfunctioned, maybe some weird oil or coolant leak. I closed the box and kept driving. The house was small. 2 stories with one porch light flickering through the rain. The kind of neighborhood where every home looked copied and pasted from the one before it. I parked, grabbed the pizza, and ran up the steps, shielding the box under my jacket. The front window was fogged from the inside. There was light behind it, warm and golden, the kind that makes you think of families watching movies together. I rang the bell. A voice called from inside, muffled but clear enough. "Sweetie, just like we practiced. Go get the pizza." The door clicked open, and there she was, a little girl about 7, brown hair tied in 2 loose puffs, one tooth missing, wearing a pink hoodie with black scribbles drawn all over it. My arms went limp. It was my sister. I froze, completely soaked now. She tilted her head at me, the exact same way she used to, when she didn't understand something. She didn't recognize me. Her eyes were wide, polite, waiting. "Pizza," she said. My voice broke. "Yeah," I muttered. "Pizza." I handed it to her. She smiled, said thank you, and closed the door. Just like that. I stood there staring at the door, my heart pounding. The sound of the rain filled the silence. That was her. Every detail. The chipped nail polish on her fingers, the little rocking motion she did on her toes before closing the door. It wasn't a resemblance. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was her. I don't remember how long I sat there in the car after that. I just remember the feeling, the weight in my chest, like something huge and heavy had lodged itself inside me. I tried logic first. Maybe she was visiting a friend. Maybe I just didn't know. Maybe she didn't recognize me because she wasn't expecting me there. That made sense. It had to. I started the car again, but I couldn't shake it. Her voice, her smile, the way she looked at me without a single flicker of recognition. I grabbed my phone and called my mom. She didn't answer. Called again. Nothing. By the third call, I was shaking my leg against the floorboard, whispering, "Come on, come on." Nothing. I leaned back in the seat and stared up at the roof of the car. The rain made the metal vibrate softly. I laughed a small broken sound. Maybe the whole thing was just coincidence. Maybe I was tired. But something kept crawling inside me. A question I couldn't kill. What was she doing in that house? I told myself I just needed a peek. Just to see. Just enough to calm down. I parked 2 houses down, walked through the hedges, my shoes squishing in the wet grass. The curtains didn't close all the way. There was a gap. I leaned in. Inside there, she was again. My sister, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, flipping through a book. Her lips moved as she read. And then, my dad, at the table, reading a newspaper. My mom across from him, scrolling her phone. All of them, together, laughing quietly at something on TV. My brain stalled, because they were supposed to be home. I had just left them an hour ago. I pressed my hand against the glass, watching them. Every motion, every sound was so familiar. And then, something slammed into the window. I jumped back, nearly slipping in the mud. A dog, our dog teeth, bared snarling eyes wide. Her collar, her fur, her exact bark. But she was gone. She'd run away months ago. I stumbled backward, tripped and ran. I didn't stop until I was back in my car, my breath fogging the glass. That was them. I saw them. But they weren't supposed to be there. The drive home felt longer than usual. Every light on the road seemed dimmer, every shadow deeper. I kept trying to tell myself I was wrong, that I'd made a mistake. But the house was there when I turned onto my street. Our house. Our car parked in the driveway at its usual crooked angle. I stepped out slowly, my shoes soaked through again. Inside it was quiet. The faint hum of the fridge, the soft tick of the clock, all the familiar sounds. And then I saw them. My dad's sneakers by the door, my mom's flats, my sister's light-up shoes with the Velcro straps. Exactly where they always were. I called out softly. "Mom." No answer. "Dad." The hallway light was off, but I could hear something from the master bedroom. A quiet, steady hum. The space heater. I pushed the door open, just enough to look through. 3 shapes under the covers. 1 large one, medium, 1 small. I stood there for a long time, my hand gripping the door frame. They were here. All of them, sleeping. But I had just seen them, awake, in another house, eating dinner. I closed the door carefully and stepped back. I couldn't think anymore. I couldn't tell what was real. I went to my room and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. The rain still hadn't stopped. I could hear it crawling down the windows. Maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe I'd always been. But deep down, I knew what I saw. And it was real. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them again, sitting around the table. My sister reading her book, the dog watching from the window. It replayed over and over until it stopped feeling like memory and started feeling like something I was meant to see. By sunrise, I'd already decided I needed to go back. I told myself it was for proof, for sanity. But deep down, I think I already knew the truth. I just didn't want to accept it. The streets were empty that morning. The rain had softened to mist, leaving everything slick and quiet. When I parked across from the house, it looked different in daylight. Smaller, harmless. The curtains were drawn, the lights off. But it was real, too real. I waited. Minutes bled into hours. My coffee went cold. Then the front door opened. My mom stepped out, first coat over her arm, digging through her purse. My sister followed, wearing her school uniform. Her hair was in those same twin puffs. They walked to the car laughing. It was them. Exactly them. I followed. I don't even remember deciding to, my body just moved. Their car pulled out, and mine followed 2 lengths behind. They drove across town through familiar streets until they pulled into West Grove Elementary, my sister's school. They walked in together, my mom's hand resting on her shoulder, guiding her toward the door. It looked so normal, so peaceful, too perfect. I just sat there, gripping the wheel, until my knuckles turned white. I don't remember much about walking into that school. It was like I'd left my body somewhere else and just followed what was left. The front desk lady looked up when I walked in. Her smile froze halfway. "Can I help you?" she asked carefully. "I'm looking for my mom and sister," I said. "They just came in." She hesitated. "There's a parent-student event this morning. Lots of families here. Do you know what class they're in?" I shook my head. "No, but I saw them. They came through the doors not even 2 minutes ago." Her eyes flicked down to my shirt at the faint red stains that never quite washed out. Her lips parted, like she was about to say something, then stopped. "Why don't you have a seat?" she said, finally, pointing toward the waiting area. I sat down. The chair creaked. The air smelled like old carpet and disinfectant. For a while, all I could hear was the buzz of the lights above me. Then the noise shifted, the murmur of voices, footsteps, laughter from the hallway. I stood up and looked toward the doors, and there they were. My mom and sister, walking side by side, smiling, holding hands. I called out, "Mom." They didn't even glance my way. A hand landed on my shoulder. I turned to security guard. "Everything okay, sir?" I nodded, but my voice came out cracked. "I just need to talk to them." They didn't hear me. He said something else, but I didn't listen. I pushed past him and ran out through the front doors. By the time I reached my car, their vehicle was already pulling away from the lot. I followed again. They didn't drive far, just back home. The same house where I'd seen them last night. They parked. The front door opened. My dad appeared in the doorway, still in his work uniform. He smiled, hugged my mom, kissed her forehead, knelt down to pat the dog that ran out to greet him. I sat there across the street, trembling. They were perfect. Every gesture, every voice, every small imperfection that made them real. Except they couldn't be. I waited until evening, when their lights went out one by one. Then I got out of my car. The air was thick, the street empty. My shoes crunched against the gravel as I walked around to the back of the house. The kitchen window was locked. I found a rock, lifted it with both hands, and shattered the glass. The sound was sharp but brief. I climbed in, cutting my arm on the edge, and landed in the kitchen. It smelled like them. Laundry detergent, dog hair, the faint scent of my mom's candles, and then a growl. I froze. She was there. Our dog standing at the end of the hallway, ears pin teeth bared. "It's me," I whispered. "You remember me, right?" Her growl deepened. "It's me, girl. It's me." She lunged. I raised my arm just in time. Her teeth sank into my sleeve. I shoved her sideways, heard her hit the wall yelping. When I checked, she was still breathing, just unconscious. I stood there, shaking my pulse, screaming in my ears. The house was silent again, and for the first time, I realized how heavy the silence felt, like the whole place was holding its breath, waiting for me to do the wrong thing. I searched the house, room by room, drawer by drawer. Everything was exactly how it should be. Photos, clothes, papers, all perfect copies of our home. Then I found the revolver in my father's drawer, old, wrapped in a towel, unloaded, but there was a box of bullets beside it. I loaded 6 rounds, one by one. Not out of rage, out of fear. When I heard the car pulling up outside, I turned off every light, sat on the couch, the gun resting on my knee. The front door opened. Laughter. Keys jingling. The sound of the dog's name being called. Then silence. My mom gasped. I heard them kneel down, whispering to the motionless dog. That's when I stepped out of the hallway. They turned, all 3 of them, and froze. My father's face drained of color. My mom's purse dropped to the floor. My sister pressed herself against the wall. "Who are you?" I asked. We all said it at the same time. "Who are you?" The sound overlapped, identical voices echoing through the room. I felt the air leave my lungs. My father raised his hand slowly. "Son, listen. Don't." My voice cracked. "Don't call me that." I pointed the gun at him. He looked at me, and there was something in his eyes that felt too human, too scared. That made it worse. "You're not them," I said. "You're copies." He didn't answer. Neither did my mom. My sister just cried silently. "Why are you copying my family?" I shouted. "Why is there no copy of me? Am I not good enough?" They said nothing. I tossed a roll of duct tape at my dad's feet. "Tie them. Now." He hesitated but obeyed. Bound my mother's wrists first, then her ankles, whispering that everything would be fine. He tied my sister, neck shaking. Then I tied him. "You're coming with me," I said. "We're going to see the real ones." The drive was quiet. None of them spoke. The only sound was my sister's muffled crying and the steady hum of the tires. When we pulled into the driveway, I left the engine running. The night was darker than before. The air felt too still. I opened my door first, the gun still in my hand. "Out," I said. My dad stepped out slowly. His hands were taped, his posture rigid. He tried talking as we walked up the steps. "You said we're copies," he murmured. "What if you're wrong? What if we're not?" I ignored him. He kept talking anyway. "If I'm fake, what's my name?" he asked. I stopped walking. The words hit me harder than I expected. His name. My father's name. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. He saw it. The hesitation. "Think about it," he said softly. "You don't even know. Do you shut up?" We reached the bedroom door. I pushed it open with the barrel of the gun. The light flicked on. They were there. The real ones. Or what was left of them. 3 bodies under the covers. The sheets soaked in dark, dried red. The air thick with rot. My father or his copy let out a strangled sound. "Why are you showing me this?" he whispered. I didn't answer. I raised the gun and shot him once in the chest. He dropped to his knees. Then I fired again. Silence. I don't remember much after that. Just flashes, the smell of gunpowder, the echo in my ears, the rain outside. I walked back to the car. My mom and sister were still inside, their faces pale. They'd seen the flashes through the window. My mom looked at me. Her head shook once, pleading. I raised the gun and fired. The bullet hit her beneath the eye. Her body slumped against the seat. My sister screamed behind the tape. I walked around, opened her door and aimed. She tried to turn away, but I fired twice. Her body jerked, then went still. For a long time, I just stood there in the rain, staring at them. The street was empty, the world silent. When I finally went back inside, the smell hit me again. Copper dampness and something else. Something like the pizza from that night. I sat down on the couch, the revolver resting on the table in front of me. I counted the bullets. One left. Sirens faint in the distance. Getting closer. I looked at the gun, then at my hands. I tried to remember the last time I'd felt certain about anything, but there was nothing left. No before, no after. Just this. The rain kept falling. Sometimes when I think about that night, I can't tell which family was real or if I ever had one at all. Maybe the copies were the originals. Maybe I'm the imitation. Or maybe this is what happens when you see something you weren't supposed to. Either way, if you ever deliver to a house that looks a little too familiar, don't knock. Just drive away. It's been months since that night. The police called it a breakdown, said I'd imagined it all. But they never found the bodies. Not mine, not theirs, not anyone's. Sometimes when I'm driving alone, I'll see that same street on my GPS, the same house, the same address. And when I slow down, the porch light flickers on, always waiting. Last week, someone ordered from that same vending machine again. Same pizza, same delivery address. My new driver asked if I wanted to take it. I told him no. But when he came back later that night, his shirt was stained red. He said it smelled strange, like oil and metal. I asked him what the customer looked like. He said, a little girl, about 7, brown hair, missing a front tooth. If you ever see that house, don't stop. Just keep driving.